Welcome to today's episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. My name is Adam Brsan.
And I'm Chris Smith.
If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you love this podcast, don't forget to share it with a friend or colleague. We greatly appreciate your help and support.
So I was thinking, Adam, our topic today is what spooks agents out of the business. And we often talk about why agents fail, but we're doing it with a Halloween theme today. But I think what spooks agents out of the business is sometimes they don't think to themselves, what if it actually works? Like, what if I actually go out there and make $100,000 a year? What does that really mean financially to my family? What if I actually will into existence 300 Medicare clients and I'm making $8,000 a month? What if it actually works? Had you ever think agents think about it that way?
You know, and it's funny. I was kind of thinking about that last night, that I think that a lot of the reasons why agents fail are some of the same reasons why other agents succeed. Yeah, the things that agents are afraid to do is what's holding them back and what kind of gets them in and out of the business, where those that are not afraid and you know, they face those fears and they just get out there and they work. The same things that scared the other person away are the reasons why the other person is successful. So, you know, maybe not all of them, but, you know, I think a good portion of the reasons why. So.
Absolutely. Now, I think some of the things that spook agents out of the business, I think has a lot to do with freedom. Freedom of the fact that you're not reporting to an office. There's no one looking over your shoulder. There's no one really checking to see what happens. It's all really on you. And I think yesterday is the perfect example. It's Halloween. A lot of us in the agency have young kids and family obligations and a life outside of door knocking and running appointments. And many of our core agent partners were in the field for, 10 to 2, 10 to 3, 10 to 4, 10 to 5. They put first things first, but they didn't let the fact that there was a family obligation in the evening spook them out of the field. So talk about that balance that you had to strike yesterday, because, you know, you had appointments to run and money to make, but you didn't make it home a little bit sooner than normal.
Yeah. You know, I called you on my way home. I can't remember for something, but I know we were talking for a few minutes. I think you were getting your kids ready for trick-or-treating at the time. And yeah, my plan yesterday, I had a 12:30 appointment, and then that was going to be pretty much it. I got to that appointment a little bit late, and where it was at, parking was kind of difficult. And so just, you know, it was a little bit of a journey to get there and to get out of there. And I was like right outside of downtown Chicago. Traffic sucked. Trick-or-treating started at 3:00, and it was a little after 3:00 by the time I got out of this appointment. And so, but I mean, heck, I think I wrote like 3,600 in premium. So it's you know, it's a weighing game. Do I want to like cut this appointment off and not write 3,600 in premium to get home in time for trick-or-treating, or, you know, would I rather make that money to pay my mortgage? So so yeah, you know, I mean, it's a weighing game. You know, there's a little bit of sacrifice there, but in the end, I mean, heck, I mean, I got to do what it's going to be best for my family. And you know, even though I missed a couple hours of trick-or-treating, I was still able to get back in time to. I mean, the kids had already gone around the, you know, half the neighborhood. By the time I got home, I was at least able to kind of go do the other half with them. And, you know, they wanted me there, but I think they understand too. Heck, if dad's got to work, he's got to work. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Let's talk about real quick too, the concept of delayed gratification, because what spooks agents out of the business oftentimes is poor financial management and poor short-term decision-making. They make a lot of money. They made more than they made before. They've got more than they've ever had in their account, and then they're nowhere to be found. What's your thoughts and beliefs when it comes to short-term sacrifice, long-term gain, and delayed gratification?
Well, I think it's almost small-minded thinking if someone gets comfortable because they had a couple good days and they made some money. Because look at the month I had. Like I said, production was down, didn't write nearly as much as I usually write. Um, you just gotta keep going. You can't get comfortable. You get comfortable and then you have a bad month and then you're scraping. So, yeah, you definitely, I don't know. Yeah, you got to look at the big picture and focus on the long term and not just not just the one sale at a time sort of mentality.
Yeah, I remember that one of the legendary Ben Bowman stories is an opportunity he shared to buy something super expensive. I think it was a watch. And then a bunch of stuff went wrong and afterwards, and he always shares the story and says if he had purchased this watch, he wouldn't have survived the next disruption in his business. And he's glad that he delayed that purchase and that gratification for the long-term gain it provided, his entire company and his family. So I think it's important that agents not get spooked out of the business because of poor financial planning or poor decision making, and stay focused on the long-term goal that they're trying to achieve. You had a bad week or a bad month. That month is thankfully freaking over. If you had such a short-term focus on things at that point, you'd have pulled the plug and started selling IULs in your underwear, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, like I said, you just kind of have to keep going, and all it takes is that one day to just totally turn things around. Going from writing nothing the first 2 days I was out in the field this week to writing 5,000 yesterday, kind of, like I said, motivated me to get up and get dressed and go back out and do it again today, where usually I don't go out on Fridays. So, but you got to do what you got to do. And like I said, I got all these leads. I might as well go out and work them. Usually I spend my Fridays, focusing on just the agency and keeping up with agents and everything else. But again, I got these leads. I might as well go out and work them. So that's what I'm going to do today.
Well
Some
said.
other things though, Chris, too, I think about when it comes to things that maybe agents fear in the business. I think at least when it comes to final expense, I think people fear just kind of the things that they hear about final expense, like that it's not good, persistent business, and that you got to deal with a lot of chargebacks. And sometimes those are things too, I think, that maybe spook agents out of the business. They focus too much on those sort of things. And, I'm a big believer, the more you focus on stuff, those are the sort of things that are going to come back to you. So if you're focusing on chargebacks, you're probably going to be dealing with a lot of chargebacks.
Yeah.
You focus on writing business, well, you're going to have a lot of more business coming in. But to me, I don't feel like those are things that should scare agents. 21 years now, almost 22 into the business. My persistency has always been over 80%. That's like the industry standard, I guess you'd say, 80%. I'm usually above that, usually 85, 90%. So, so much of it just kind of has to do with how you're selling and not overselling and not putting people in policies that they can only pay one time and they can never afford a month after this. Setting draft dates properly. So, there's a lot to it. I think the reason it gets a bad rap, final expense, and the persistency is because there's too many people that give up too soon. They had that one charge back, and then they're telling the whole world about it, and now they're back to working at Target.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember too that in the bubble of social media that so many people live in, especially if you're watching this content, that means you're in the bubble. Hi, the social media algorithms heighten negativity. It's just the reality of it. And when you're seeing that over and over again, it's playing off the fact that your mind focuses on that and then produces what it sees. So you have to remind yourself sometimes to disengage from the negativity and focus on the productivity. I think sometimes people are afraid and they're spooked into this business because they're focusing so much, like you said, on their weaknesses and they're not counterbalancing their strengths. I recognize that this week I wanted to make money, put money directly in my bank account, grow back the account that I had spent a lot of money out of. And I went back to the hood. I got a set of final expense leads that we had in inventory, and I went to work. And guess what? It was harder. It required a tougher skin. The people were meaner, but I still made plenty of money. And I think sometimes we have to recognize in our business, focusing on your strengths makes it really easy to make up for your weaknesses. Don't you think?
Yeah, most definitely. Uh, one strength of mine is door knocking. So, I mean, right there. I mean, like I said today, I have a few appointments set, but I'm going to spend a good portion of my day just door knocking those leads, knocking them out. Uh, you got to kind of go out there knowing, yeah, not everybody's going to be nice and friendly and let you in or have any idea why you're there to talk to them. But it's a numbers game. The more people you have to see, the more opportunities you have to make sales. So yeah, most definitely. Another thing too, I think people fear rejection. Uh, Rejection sucks. I mean, I got
Absolutely.
rejected a lot this month, and it sucks when you're there to help people and they need it, and you just can't push them over to moving forward. And that's what's happened to me a lot lately. It's like I feel like the need is there, but just honestly, it's been more of like money issues, just running into people that just don't have anything. But yeah, they fear that rejection, and that maybe it gets to them like it's gotten to me. But again, you just got to kind of keep moving. You keep going. Sooner or later, you get into the right house, turns things all around. I think
Mhm.
so many times people just give up too soon. Uh, they have that. I remember one time, Chris, I went out with a guy, training him. We were out, I think 2 days in a row. In those 2 days, I wrote like 6,000 in premium. I got like 25 referrals, and this guy was just like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to go out there and crush it. And he went out the next day and just totally got beat up. And he's like, this isn't for me. I'm done. And it's like, yeah, not every day is going to go like that day that I had, or those 2 days that I was out with the guy. I don't know. I know people just, well, honestly, Chris, I think some of it could be too. So many of these different organizations out there that they really, really make this sound easy to people. They make it sound like you're going to make all this money overnight. You barely got to get 1 foot out of your bed in the morning to make it happen.
They're
Money's
just
just
going to
going to be
call you. They're
flowing.
always going to
It's going
call
to
you
be
and hand
falling
you
off
their
the trees
checks.
outside. What's that?
They're just going to call you and start handing you their bank accounts.
Yeah, that's it. You barely have to do anything, and all of a sudden you're making $20,000 a week. I love that recruiting call a couple of weeks ago, talking to this agent. Everything sounds good, Adam, but I talked to this other place. They said within a month I'd be making $20,000 a week, and it's like, are you that gullible? Because if you're that gullible, well, go ahead. Go work for
Yeah.
them.
Well, let's talk about another one too. I mean, this is the perfect example. We're talking about what spooks agents out of the business, and what a lot of times they suffer from is failure to launch. So we
Yeah.
streamlined the process. Like we made this so simple. You can't not do it. Oh, maybe somebody can't. We streamlined the onboarding process to 1 or 2 companies right away. Go out there and sell one policy, plug into all the training, spend an hour of private training with us, which we could probably sell for thousands of dollars in all honesty. And we had an agent recently who suffered from failure to launch because they wanted to just get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. They were afraid to just start and see what happens. So why do you think agents get so spooked in the very beginning? They never even cross the road and give themselves the opportunity.
I think it. I think for the most part, it is the fear of failure. And they just, yeah, I mean, that was the situation. The person, they wanted to make sure they had everything down just right. And it's
Mhm.
like, I probably still don't have everything down just right. If I did, I'd be making a sale in every house. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
walking out without a sale in those houses that I get rejected on. I'm not perfect.
Yeah. And
The best
you
way to
don't have it
learn
all
this
down.
business is just to get out there and do it. And,
Mhm.
when I first got in the business, I had one guy took me out like 1 or 2 days out in the field, door knocking leads. And that was it. From there, I was on my own, and I was not involved with like what we have going on, Chris, where we really spend a lot of time and have good conversations with a good group of agents to kind of stay on track. Yeah, my dad was in the business, so we communicated quite a bit back in the day, and we still do. But yeah, I learned this business from just going out and doing it, figuring out
Mhm.
what worked, figuring out what didn't. Getting doors slammed in my face and going back to my car and thinking, well, what could I have done differently so next time I don't get a door slammed in my face?
Yeah.
This really is not rocket science.
No.
But you got to be able to just get up and get out and do it. And I think that's the hardest part. People, and I think it's just I don't know if it is, I think it is that fear of failure. But they're going to fail out of business if they don't get started.
Yeah. And I think especially when we're trying to get somebody onboarded and into the field, we really do expect them to fail 9 times out of 10, 14 times out of 15, 18 out of 20. And all we want them to see is the proof that they can do it by selling one policy to someone that's not their grandmother or their mom. That's it. Just prove to yourself you can do it once. And if you can do something once, you can do it twice. If you can do it twice, you can do it 4 times, and so on and so forth. But we expect you to fail. We expect you, as a successful agent, to fail at times and to keep going and refuse to give up. But failure is to be expected. It's what you do after that that really leads you to where you're trying to go or puts you off the path, right?
For sure. There's a couple others here, Chris, that I put down that I wanted to run through with you. Some things
Awesome.
that honestly people don't talk about enough. A lot of people, I think, are spooked out of the business because they're afraid to work some of the areas that we work when
Good
we're
one.
out in the field. People don't talk about that enough. We're working low income areas. Like very seldom are we working on the nice side of town. So I think sometimes that spooks people out of the business. They're uncomfortable in environments that they're not used to being in. And I've been working the worst parts of Chicago since I was 21 years old. I didn't know anything about it, but I think maybe that's what helped me was being able to get out there when I was young and just go into those areas when I don't know, maybe I had a lot less to lose back then. So, and now it's just like it's second nature. I like working those areas. To me, it's just the people that I deal with on a regular basis. I feel like the need is there. They've been through it. They know they need it. And I have zero hesitation to work, some, I guess what some people would call like some rough areas.
Yeah.
It's just, it's never really fazed me. I kind of look as people know I'm there for a reason. They know I'm not out there trying to cause problems, but I've always told agents, if you don't feel comfortable and it doesn't feel like a good time to get out of the car, you could always go back later.
Yeah. And I think you got to look at it this way. Strengths and weaknesses. Again, I know my strength is the urban market because I can run 18 appointments in 2 days if things are working perfectly. Those 18 appointments will turn into 7,500 in life premium and probably about 7 MAs. And I know the rural area is nice for a break once in a while, but with the amount of time I have in the field and my personal preferences, I'm not going to see enough people in enough time, and that grades at me a little bit. I also think when we talk about areas, sometimes people talk about selling over the phone all the time. That's fine, but you got to be licensed in 10, 12, 15, 20, 25 states. You have to be able to operate a CRM, your phone, a mobile, the iPad application. You got to be very tech fluid, or you have to be willing to take time to learn it. And you have to learn the nuances of tonality and conversation and interaction because you don't have body language to help you through it. Like I can look somebody in the eye and walk them through the sale without anything but experience at this point. But over the phone, there's so much more nuance to it. You got to recognize it isn't going to be any easier. It's a different kind of hard. So I could totally agree with that area thought as well. We have a question on Facebook that I'd love to get your thoughts on. And I think this is perfect because I wrote this down to cover potentially as well. Josh asks, what are some of your tips and tricks for referrals? I know you worked your book of business this week to write over 5K of premium, but any suggestions you would give on referrals?
You know what? It's funny. Erin, it was just out here commenting. I think she's like the referral pro. She writes tons of business off of referrals, but uh, honestly, I probably needed to get better at referrals. I don't feel like I ask enough for referrals. I get the sale, and and so often I might ask a little bit, but I don't push hard enough for the referral. And maybe it's just because in my mind I already know I got someone else to go see like in 10 minutes. But when I usually just pretty much put it to the person as yeah, I tell them, you might wonder how I get paid. I do this to kind of solidify the sale too. I say, you might wonder how I get paid. Well, I get paid a couple ways. I get paid a commission by you keeping this policy in force. So I hope you're serious about your decision today. And I know you are, because I know you need this. I also get paid by you giving me names of 5 people that maybe not necessarily need a policy, but will at least like to hear about what we're talking about. And then they think I'm getting paid just to get a few names. And so sometimes that works. It's kind of like in my mind, by going that route with it, I just help them with something that they knew they needed, and they're happy. And now they might be more willing to help me if they feel like I'm going to get something out of it, rather than just giving me names. If they feel like I'm actually going to get something out of it, they may be more willing to help me. So that's why I kind of go that route with it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll be honest. Yeah, I think I'd like to get Erin on one of our Fridays, Chris,
I think she should come on next
have her
Friday.
on.
I
But
think she should.
yeah, maybe if she's available, that'd be awesome, because I think she's one of the better ones I know at getting referrals, and I think probably me and you could also learn a little bit from her when it comes to
Yeah,
the referrals.
I do have 3 methods that I've worked on that I think are worth discussing. One is mailing letters. I know during COVID, I was trying to drum up business any place I could find it. Old business, Pakistani life transfers, mailing letters to clients. And mailing letters is very time consuming and offered me a very low return. I mailed probably 200 letters to existing clients during that 1 month I was selling over the phone. And I got 1 callback, and it was a lay down sale. The lady's like, absolutely, I'd like to purchase more insurance. And I wrote it right there. It was very easy. Text messages, which we've proven multiple times that works really, really well, especially when you can kind of theme it properly. Last holiday season, I was approaching my final day in the field for the year. Didn't have a ton of appointments, was really focused on like Christmas, the trip I was about to go on, the engagement I was planning in the background. Took a lot of work, but I wanted to make one last day in the field profitable. Put together a text message, something about an annual review, and I'll find the text and I'll post it later. But I texted about 40 clients. I got 2 answers, and I wrote about 2,000 in AP from a parking lot from a text message. Still on the books. It was an existing client that wanted more coverage. So I just texted individually, not group texted, good working relationship clients, and drummed up business that way. It wasn't necessarily a referral, but it was book of business. And then drop-ins. I think when you're making contact with your clients for whatever reason, if you're not asking them for a referral, you're missing the opportunity. So I think the best thing I could teach about referrals is just asking more often. I just recently got some marketing material from a carrier, and they gave us a referral sheet you can leave with the client. I've got to use it for it to be any good, but it's just the activity of it that I think would yield the results. And so many of us lead junkies are bad at asking in the first place.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, yeah, I definitely need to get better at referrals. I am a lead junkie. Doubled down this week. Worked 40 instead of 20. Had I asked for referrals more often, maybe I wouldn't need to grab another 20 leads this week. So yeah, I mean, in the end, I mean, you're walking away from a lot of business if you're not asking for referrals, and referrals are free leads. So, I mean, what, the $780 I spent on another 20 leads, I would not have had to, maybe if I was a little bit better. So I need to get better at that. But I think it's important too for people to, we talk about our strengths, we talk about our weaknesses. But when we have those weaknesses, maybe those are some things that we need to focus on a little bit to do what we can to get better.
Yeah,
And
strengths
for
versus
sure, I
weaknesses.
mean, that's something that I for sure need to get better at, is referrals. But I bet that 90% of agents out there would say the same thing, that they're not asking for referrals often enough. And But if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get them.
One more that I sometimes do, and then we can get into some of your other spooky
Sure.
things, is if I'm mailing a policy, for some reason, if a policy came to me and it didn't come to the client, maybe I was overzealous and clicked mail to agent. And then as soon as it came, I regretted that I clicked that button. If I have to physically mail this policy, I'm going to make sure at the least I write a note in there that says, thank you for the business. We give a cash bonus for referrals. Like anytime I'm making that touch physically by mailing the policy and I have to spend 22 minutes there and back going to the post office and $4 to mail it, I'm going to make some effort in that policy to encourage the client to call me for referrals or to share my information.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good to, yeah. I mean, I don't like having policies mailed to me. I had a carrier, I wrote maybe 5 or 6 apps with them last month, and every single one, they sent the policy to me. And
hey, there's a referral opportunity.
Yeah.
Draw up a nice letter, sign Adam Brsan to it, and say cash bonus if you can put me in front of someone that I helped the same way you helped me.
Hey, there you go. And we have gone back to people that we write like 30 days. I've trained guys, go back 30 days after you write the app and let the person know that they qualified for additional coverage. You pre-qualified for 35,000. I know you went with the 20,000. Did you want to take care of the rest today? And just a way to maybe have that little add-on sale. So I've done that where, a month later, maybe go back after the trust is there now. Everything I told them the first time came true.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe now they're willing to do a little bit more. But yeah, I've never really liked having a whole stack of policies to deliver because I got too many other people to go see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I called the place. I'm like, what do I got to do to make sure you guys just send these policies to the policyholders? Because honestly, I don't want them stacking up in my car either. They need to get to the person. And so, but one other thing, Chris, one of the fears, I think some people have a fear of commission only.
That's a good one.
And, that's something. And I think, honestly, I think a lot of times it's not the agent who has the fear of commission only, but it's the people in the background that have the fear. Like if it's a husband and a wife, let's say the husband is the one who wants this commission only career. A lot of times I think it's the spouse who's holding the person back because they want to see that guaranteed money. They want that, when you got bills, you got everything else, people like to have that guaranteed income. But in my opinion, you can make a heck of a lot more money on commission than any salary position where people tell you this is what you're worth. So, but I think that's something that maybe people need to figure out ways to overcome in their homes. So their spouse or significant other kind of understands the business and understands the sort of money that you can make. Cause I just think a lot of times people, they don't understand it. The spouse doesn't really understand how it works. What do you mean? It's only commission only. Why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
But I think that spooks some agents out of the business.
Yeah. And look at it this way. I always explain it to people like this, and maybe it doesn't work because maybe, I don't know. I say to them, if you were working an hourly wage or a salary and you didn't do your job, like you just didn't show up for 2 or 3 weeks, or you did such a poor job, it was very obvious you weren't even trying, what would happen? They'd fire you, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So if you went 2 or 3 weeks and didn't do a darn thing in commission only, you just simply fire yourself. So it's one way or the other. It has the same results. It's an illusion of an hourly wage that makes things different. Working a salary, that's for some people, and that's perfectly fine. But at some point, they're going to put a cap on your earning potential and your time. And if time is important to you and you want to control the most precious resource you have in existence, you have to be able to control your time through self-employment or creating your own business. And that's really what you're doing, is you're operating commission only until you build a residual income, until you build a book of business, until you build an agency, until you've built a real business. And then you're on your own salary. So I think it's all about mindset, but at the most granular level, what you said there is so powerful. They have to get their spouse, their significant other, whatever their people that are in their direct sphere of influence on them, and explain to them what they're trying to do. And if they really love and care about them, they'll help them get to that point, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm kind of fortunate, kind of coming from the background of, growing up around the business. My dad, commission only, independent, always kind of doing his own thing. I grew up around it. I kind of saw how it worked. I grew up, pretty fortunate. I feel like, grew up a nice neighborhood, nice home. My dad busted his butt, to do what he could to support our family. So, I knew how it would be going in, but then I also knew that, I knew I could do really well. It takes a lot of work. I saw how my dad worked, and he was, very successful in the business. I knew I could do the same. It'd just be a matter of putting the time in to make it happen. And I saw firsthand that this is not an easy business.
Yeah.
But the good days definitely make up for the bad.
We got another question I'd love to tackle with you because I love this question. Aaron asked, what do you say if you contact a lead or referral on a Sunday? Now, I know Aaron is setting her own appointments and working referrals right now, and this is the perfect question for her to ask. Sunday afternoon is the best time to set appointments for Monday. Proven time and time again in this industry. When you are dialing for yourself and you're trying to start the week off profitably and enjoy some time at the end of the week, Sunday between 4 and 8:30 with a break for dinner is a damn good time to dial your leads and set appointments. The other time, Aaron, that I think works really, really well is first thing Saturday morning, or both, depending on your results or your schedule or your family obligations. But Saturday, first thing for about 2 hours, Sunday, last thing for about 2 hours. If you just have a good solid script, a good set of fresh leads like I know you have, and a will to make it work, you're going to set 6, 7, 8, 9 appointments on a Monday, and then you're off to the races from there. So Adam, what are your thoughts on contacting leads or referrals on a Sunday?
Why not? It's just another day of the week. Uh, I've worked leads on Sundays. I've gone out and door knocked on a Sunday. I think Sunday afternoons are really good. A lot of our clients, they may go to church on Sunday, but they'll get home by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And in my experience, when I've door knocked leads on Sunday afternoons, I'm catching that person at home, and usually there's other relatives there. There are other family members that they go to church with that they don't live there. Maybe their kids are with them on Sunday, where usually that any other time of the week, they're hard to get a hold of. There's business to be written on Sundays. Well, like any other day of the week. And I think it's, again, so much of this business is just mindset. If you think people don't want to be bothered on Sundays, well, then they're not going to want to be bothered. But if you go out with that mindset of like what I just said, Sundays are great. People are home in the afternoon. A lot of times you're going to see other people as well as just the lead. Their kids will be there, everybody else. There's opportunity there. So much of this is just mindset. If you think it'll work on Sundays, it'll work. If you think it's not going to work, well, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. I got one more tip on that too. When you're getting used to setting your own appointments, you're getting used to working direct mail, you're getting used to the ins and outs with that lead flow to your business. What I've always done is I'll start with a set of older leads, like not my brand new stuff I paid for on Friday, but stuff from like a week or 2 or 3 before. And I'll start with those. Low pressure. They say no, oh well. And as soon as I get one appointment off of that mix of my older stuff, then I immediately shift back into my newer stuff because I've got my confidence up. Kind of like how you wrote a piece of business on Wednesday or that Medicare sale, and that Medicare sale pushed you into writing more life business. So Aaron, I would recommend mixing in some of your older stuff, call them first, get into the rhythm of calling, set an appointment, and then shift right into your newer stuff, which will naturally be easier to set because it's damn near 2 weeks old, if not newer sometimes.
Yeah, and I see Erin also mentioned that she had that feeling this week. Maybe some of the areas that she was working might not have been the nice side of town, but you just kind of got to go in with the mindset of people know you're there for a reason. You're not out there trying to
Yeah.
cause problems. And if you don't feel safe, like I said,
Come
go
back
back later. Or, the best time, if you're working a really bad area, the best time to work those leads is first thing in the morning. You're
Yeah.
9 a.m., everybody's still in bed. You're not going to have issues at 9 o'clock in the morning, or even the winter
No.
time. Winter time's great. Everybody's inside. Now it's going to be cold out. Nobody wants to be outside when it's cold out. So,
Yeah.
like, again, mindset.
Yeah. One other trick that might help in those situations is just if you feel like you're not quite comfortable, obviously apply common sense. Don't get yourself killed. But, send us a text ahead of time. Hey, I'm going into a home. Can you call me in 15 minutes and say it's my manager checking in on me for the day? And no problem with that. We'll check in, make sure you're alive. They haven't been kidnapped yet, or send people out if you were. But don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, give me a call in 10 minutes to make sure I'm still answering my phone. But if you're not feeling comfortable, don't do it. It's kind of that balancing
like I said,
act.
if you don't feel comfortable, you don't got to get out of your car. Go back later.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. I pulled up. I'm like, nope, not today.
Not the best time to get out of the car. Yeah.
Nope. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Like I said, I think a lot of reasons why agents fail or get scared out of the business are the same reasons why other agents succeed. You just got to push through. You can't have that fear of failure. You can't focus on the negatives. You can't focus on the chargebacks. You can't focus on the bad rap the business gets, talking about poor persistency and everything else. Focus on the good stuff and focus. And, if anything, communicate with people that that have been successful. Don't communicate with the people that are on the boards talking about how, I got to work in the hood and final expense. I didn't know that. Like,
yeah,
they don't know the first thing about the business then.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and
deal with people that have been successful. They know what works. They know what doesn't. Me and you, Chris, I'd say we're probably two of the better out there.
Mhm.
But deal with people that know what they're doing. That can help you get better. And you're not going to have any sort of fear or get spooked out of the business, because you're going to deal with good people that know it's going to work as long as you let it.
Keep going. The only way you fail really in this is to give up. Stop trying. And if you have stop trying, try again. Like, it's a fresh month. It really is. It's a new opportunity. It's the best time of year to sell. All the excuses are there if you want them, or all the reasons to succeed are there if you choose to take them. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and share whatever method you're watching us on. And we'll see you again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.
And this concludes another episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend or colleague. And if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please leave those too. Any input is greatly appreciated. Thank you.